everyone, before we start I just wanted to explain what prompted this video today. So usually I don't get these sort of weird nasty comments. I've been quite lucky with them, but yeah, lately within a very short period, maybe a week, I had quite a few of those wacky comments, and it just made me realize how much people are struggling mentally, because to write things that they wrote, you can't be mentally well or mentally healthy or mentally settled. So I decided, in the light of what is going on, to basically have a relaxing session that would really sort of help to maybe distract from what is going on in life, like personal life or at work or whatever it is that could be creating some sort of mental tension or disruption, and help you kind of get in a positive mood. And if you feel absolutely fine, then I think still you would enjoy this video anyhow, because it's going to be about watercolors and mixing a little bit and painting. I'm hoping for some contemporary floral, like botanical art, but a little bit more with an abstract twist perhaps, or more whimsical, although I don't like the word whimsical. No, let's say sketchy and doodly, something like that. So I do want to use watercolor, but I will definitely want to add maybe just colored pencils. Anyway, I won't put any frames onto my work, and let's just see how we get on. Before I start, I thought I will pull out a few books which I can recommend that help with color mixing. So every kind of therapeutic art session begins with color. Color is very, very powerful when it comes to relaxing the mind, and I find that out of all mediums, watercolor probably would be the most effective, purely because I think it has something to do with the volume of the water. So watercolor cannot function without plenty of water. And of course, we know the unpredictability of adding pigment and water together, and that perfect kind of ratio and the movement in the water. All of those things, I think, somehow help us to relax the mind and release all those stresses and tensions. Similarly, like we can just sit for hours and watch the sea or the waves, or maybe a water feature. So I think watercolor is very similar to that. It has that movement, whereas other paints like acrylics, they have viscosity, so it's a totally different thing. It doesn't move throughout water like watercolor does. Similar to watercolor, acrylic ink, I would say. Oil paints, again, they have this thickness in there, which is very beautiful, and it's a very tactile experience. I personally find viscosity and creaminess of paints equally as relaxing, if not more. There is something that really kind of helps to connect with the painting and the process of it. But I think that most people find watercolor a lot easier to work with, and it doesn't take as long to kind of master watercolor, or at least to become more confident with it. So back to the books. I believe I have a review for every single one of those, so I'll try to link them up for you. And so the first book, I'll just give you a short summary. So the first book is by Julie Collins, and it's called Color Mixing Guide for Watercolor. It's a very kind of small book. This is the next one that came after it, and I would recommend it over this one. But if you have, for instance, children that you would like to teach just simple basic color mixing, it's a good book because it's very small, and it gets you the information, the very basic information that you need. Or if you yourself don't want to have anything too detailed and just want the basics, then again, this is a good book. So just to show you an example, here, for instance, how to mix greens, what you need is obviously blues and yellows. What I find fascinating, I just looked through this book to remind myself of it again. It doesn't seem to have this section where you add yellow colors to blues or blues to yellow to create lovely greens. So I thought that's a bit strange, because this is a bigger book. It's got 3,000 color mixing recipes. Anyway, so we have here as an example, we have French ultramarine, and then we have 3 different yellows. So we've got Windsor lemon, which is like a lemon yellow, New Gamboge yellow, and raw sienna. And you can see how this alters, how these yellows alter the kind of greens. And then we have the Windsor blue red shade, and again the same yellows, and this is the variety of greens you get here. And then with cobalt blues as well. So it kind of gives you a simple and quick understanding. Now moving on to her bigger book, which is the 3,000 color mixing recipes for watercolor. It's a lovely presented, beautifully presented book. It's got a spiral in here, and pictures are lovely. Everything is nice to look at. It's a nice format. It's smaller, it's compact as well. And to basically show you a couple of things here, you have the color recipes the same way, and then you have the yellows or the colors that are added to these colors swatched up here, so you can see the original color and then all the colors that are mixed in. I have to say I'm quite curious about this particular one here, Terra Verte with Windsor lemon. I'll try to find if I can recreate this color, because I do love it. It's a very much chartreuse green that I adore. So you can see if we go into blues, there is no yellows. Well, there is some, but these are greens, so we're adding yellow onto the greens. The blues truly are before that. And then we have reds that we're adding to the blues. We add other blues to the blues. This is, to me, it's a little bit peculiar how we have blues to blues, but we don't have yellows to blues. And then again, reds to blues, blues to blues. And that is pretty much it. And then if I check the yellows, it's the same thing. So let's start with the beginning, just because I think mixing your own greens is quite an important part of botanical art. So we've got yellows with yellows, quite a large section of it. Then we're adding oranges and reds to yellows. More of that, and that's it. So yeah, a little bit peculiar. It does have a good section on neutrals though, so if you like to mix your own grays and things like that. Let's move on to the next book. So the next book, this is actually good because it kind of quadruples into different mediums. So we have oil, acrylic and watercolor. Presumably the same can be applied to all those 3 mediums. And it says here color mixing recipes for portraits. So these colors are specifically put together for portraits. More than 500 color combinations for skin, eyes, lips and hair. And it's got that same format with the spiral in here, which I quite like because I like the book to lay flat and refer to it. So this is also quite a comprehensive guide here. It's got loads of kind of beginners mixing techniques. Anyway, if you want to see the full reviews, you can just have a look, but just to give you an idea. And then here I thought was quite interesting, just as one example, the skin tone recipe. Basically, it says here graying color, cool shadow, warm shadow, and highlight values. So these are the colors to use to achieve the certain aspects. So for example, for graying color, it says here 95% viridian green and 5% cerulean blue hue, water level 4, whatever that means. Level 4 is strong color. Color water levels. So level 1 is pale color, level 4 is strong color, so I guess less water the bigger the level. And yeah, so these are the colors you would kind of add to, I guess, to this color. So this is the master skin tone recipe. It tells you that it has 60% yellow ochre, 30% cadmium orange, 10% permanent rose, water level 5. And then I guess if you wanted light values, middle values, dark or great values, so these are the colors kind of you would add to change things around. So I thought that's quite useful to learn as well, no matter what medium you like to work in. And finally, Botanicals. So this is a nice little book. I mean, all of them are quite small formats, so they're easy to carry if you're on the go somewhere and you want to sit down and read up a little bit. So it focuses on mixing the colors for Botanicals and also some lovely artwork to look at. There's quite a bit to read here, so it's definitely a learning or teaching book, so you will get quite a bit of information from it. And yeah, I thought there's a decent amount of examples here. And one thing I wanted to show you from this book, for example, it has like a breakdown on every color, so you can read up on it, typically what goes into those colors, what pigments, etc. So permanent sap green, PY110 and PG36, is a rather unnatural looking green on its own, but mixed with little permanent rose it's better. It is very easy to match using phthalo turquoise and transparent yellow. Mixing your own greens will result in far better matches for botanical painting. So I would say you just don't need to buy this color. So basically she says mix your own greens, and that is quite true. In botanical art you don't ever use a green out of the tube, you always mix your own. So couple of things to try, and I think that's what we will do. So I will divide this video looking at it, how long it's taking. So this will be like the intro to it, and I will spend a bit of time now taking a little bit of something from every book, kind of just as a warm-up, and then in part 2 we will try to do some sort of botanical art on this page. I basically decided to get a French ultramarine and cerulean as a completely different sort of blue, and then for my yellows I tried to match the yellows that we have here. So Windsor lemon would be my just Schmincke regular lemon yellow. For the Nugambosch yellow I'm going with Daniel Smith Nugambosch. These two were Schmincke and White Nights. And then for the rose sienna, I don't think I actually own a single rose sienna, or at least I couldn't find it. So I looked it up, and here we go. This is rose sienna, and to me it looks very much like a like an ochre. And I do have yellow ochre right here. So this is a yellow raw ochre, and this is yellow ochre that I have here. So not quite. If I had yellow raw ochre, that would be better. Let me have a look if I can find this color. Yes, so I did have it. Yellow raw ochre is basically this one. They look pretty much identical and they're not as opaque as the yellow ochre. So I'll go with that color because it's a great match. And we'll see what kind of greens we can get. Alright, so I have gone ahead and squeezed out 3 different yellows. I think I will start with ultramarine blue. No, I'll start with the lighter blue, the cerulean blue. And let's see. I don't really work with cerulean blue that often, so it's good to take a bit of time to get to know it. Also today is one of those rare occasions where I'm not really rushing anywhere, don't really have to be anywhere, don't have any meetings, no appointments, and the day has been somewhat relaxed, so it's a good time to be doing these things. Okay, so to begin with, let's just do a little swatch of the original colors. So here's our lemon yellow. I just realized something. I was going to just do kind of, you know, free-handed swatches, but I do like how things look when they're swatched out within a certain perimeter. So I will be using this stamp from the Color Theory stamp set. They are available on my Etsy, Alyona Creates. And there's another one if you're interested, also for watercolor, Swatch Joy. And what I will do is basically, this is my old circular acrylic block, which I sold out, and so I don't really have it in stock anymore. But yeah, anything that would fit is fine to do. Okay, I'm going to rotate it today this way, and I think what I would do, so I'll do it 3 times because I have 3 different yellows. So let's do it like so, and one more time. Now I am stamping it in a nude color, which is what I like. If you prefer to stamp in black, make sure it is a waterproof black. One that I would recommend is archival ink. I would absolutely not recommend, what is it called? Oh, the versatile, or what's it called? One second. I don't want to move the camera because that will mess up things, but you know, the I think they're called the versatile, and they're so juicy. I have absolutely no idea why some people recommend to use that ink. It really makes an ugly stamp. So yeah, don't know why, but there you go. And I'll do another 2, so this is for the other blue. And let's just carry on. So here is the original lemon green, or the lemon yellow, sorry. And then I'll swatch out the original New Gamboge. This is a lovely color. Super juicy. In fact, this is too much pigment. It looks a lot nicer when it has less pigment. It goes opaque quite quickly. And then finally we have the yellow raw ochre. There we go. So then we will take the blue, which is cerulean. Hope you can see the mixing right here. So I'm just going to mix up a puddle right here. So when we're mixing, we're looking at creating this kind of creamy texture, but it needs to have enough water in there because otherwise it just doesn't work. So I'm going to start by adding it here to one side, and we totally have the Ukrainian flag vibes. And then what I'm going to do now is just take a bit of yellow. So that probably should have been the middle color, kind of like this. And then we add a touch more of the blue. And it kind of becomes like turquoisey. It's a lovely mix. So there you go. I'll just go over it. So straight up, not a great combo in my opinion for botanical art. It's just a bit much. And then I'm going to go in with more of this. So this is a chartreuse. That's a nice color. And now we're going to do the same thing with the gamboge, new gamboge. So again, taking some of this cerulean blue. Cerulean blue granulates nicely. So if you like texture on your leaves, it's a good color to add. Okay, and then I'll do the middle color. Seems to be easier to create middle color. So here we have a bit of a kind of like an olive green, a warm olive green, and into that I will add more of the gamboge. Like so. And then more of the blue into here. There we go. So now let's mix like a middle color. This is interesting. This is like almost grey. So it'd be a good shadow color. Or like autumn leaf color. Let's add a bit more of the raw yellow ochre. This is a nice color. I do like this one. It's like a greyish turquoisey water color. Okay, so these are the cerulean mixes. Now let's do the same thing with the French ultramarine.